Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start with a story that perfectly captures how everyday annoyances can turn into small moments of resistance. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Coffee run interrupted by two gentlemen blocking my path. My husband and I like to spend the mornings together since we have different wake-up times. Most of the time, this means I make breakfast and he makes coffee. Then we talk about our days and the goals we want to reach before going our different ways. Well, sometimes walk the half mile to the nearby convenience store to get a cheap coffee and a snack before walking back home. This is something we do when we're feeling busy or when we're out of coffee. I knew I was going to feel bad today because I hadn't slept at all the night before. My husband felt the same way, but he told me to try to start the day on a good note by being cheesy and sweet in the store. When we paid for our coffee, the cashier saw my husband's shirt and wanted to talk to him about it, a low-key reference to a video game. It was warm outside and the sun was just beginning to rise, so I chose to wait for him there, but two workers were blocking the only door, which was a glass one, and they didn't seem to notice me. I cleared my throat and moved both arms around like I was trying to swim around them. It felt weird. I even said "excuse me" a few times to make it clear that I was trying to get outside, but they wouldn't move. They had a deep talk about this beautiful woman who'd just left. As she walked away, they joked that they had just cleaned the door to check her out. I stood there stunned and waved at them in a sheepish way. One of the guys turned around to face the other way, but he still didn't move. His voice dropped, and he said something I didn't understand. Then they both laughed. It felt like they wanted to keep me there, so I tapped my foot and asked them to please move out of the way. They didn't. After giving the checker a smile and a laugh, I looked back at my husband and gave him the look. When he was done talking, he came over to my side, and both guys moved out of our way without saying a word. When I opened the door, I smudged it because I put my palm on the glass instead of the handle. One of the guys said I was being rude because he'd just cleaned it, but I didn't pay attention to him. My husband asked me what that was all about after we were a long way away. I don't act this passive-aggressively very often. He laughed when I told him what was going on. He made a joke about how when we walk together, men will move out of the way for him, but not for me because they think I'll move for them, so he gave me the whole path as a joke. It's interesting how some moments, even minor ones, reveal larger dynamics. Your morning routine with your husband sounds lovely, a calm and sweet way to start the day. The walk to the store seems like a nice little ritual, but those workers definitely disrupted the vibe. Their behavior's frustrating. Blocking the door while chatting's one thing, but doubling down when you clearly signaled that you needed to pass? That's a whole new level of inconsiderate. It's no wonder you resorted to passive aggressiveness. Sometimes it feels like the only way to deal with people who refuse to acknowledge basic social cues. You handled it well. It's a small victory, but leaving your mark, literally, with the smudge on the glass was a fitting response. Hopefully those workers learned a little bit about respecting others' space, though it's more likely they just grumbled about having to clean the glass again. And our second story. Karen confuses Pepsi fanatic for delivery driver. Hello, my friends. Before we get into the story, here's our cast. Karen equals K, me equals me, duh. Old manager equals OM. A little background. I'm a 21-year-old male who's totally hooked on Pepsi. Every time I get paid, I buy a few cases to last me the whole month. Every time I go to the same dollar shop, everyone knows my name. To get a few cases, I just ask to go to the back room and pay for them with a bottle from the shelf in the front. Anywho, let's get into it, besties. I went to the nearby dollar store to talk to my friend OM about how to get into the back room. I bring my regular mode of transportation and park it by the back door so I can get to the east side of the store. I then go to the front of the store and find OM. She's dealing with a complaint from a rude customer who smells strongly of hairspray and self-hatred. OM quietly gives me the key to the back door. I take it, and I'm off. I don't want to leave OM with the walking angry person who was kind enough to let me talk. The event can be seen and heard from the back room where I'm getting these boxes of liquid gold. While I'm there, I hear the following. K. What do you mean you don't carry them anymore? They were here last week. I don't remember what she asked for. OM. Since I started working here, ma'am, we haven't had that item in stock at any point. You can look somewhere else if you want to. K said, this is crazy. I'll go somewhere I know has it. As I put the fourth and last case of Pepsi into my trunk, I'm almost ready to go up and pay for them. I lock my car and close the trunk. As I walk toward the front door, I almost run into Karen. K. Do you have the name of the item in your truck? I don't think I do, I said. I have no reason to need it. Kay, who looked confused, said, but you were just delivering. I saw you shut the truck's back door. I wasn't stalking, I said. It had Pepsi in it. I now understand that she thought I worked for a delivery business. Kay, so you went and stole? Me, no, not at all. Do not make assumptions about other people, lady. Then I walk right by her, clearly angry because my brain doesn't like false charges, and I do the most embarrassing thing in my life, a little too close to her. K. Did you just... I told her in my sternest voice, leave me alone before I do something bad. Yes, I'm leaving now. After I paid for the bottle and my cases and left, she stopped talking. I then walked over to the Pepsi shelf and grabbed a bottle. This is a roller coaster of a story, and Karen brought the drama to a situation that didn't need any. It's wild how she jumped to the conclusion that you were a delivery person. Classic case of assumptions gone wrong. Karen's reaction to your proximity mishap, or shall we say accidental boundary breach, must have been the cherry on top. It's almost comedic how her tone probably shifted from indignation to stunned silence in a split second. Props to you for staying composed enough to pay for your Pepsi stash and leave with dignity intact. OM deserves a medal for dealing with Karen's initial tantrum, and you deserve one for not letting her nonsense ruin your day. Or your love for liquid gold. Hopefully Karen learned a valuable lesson. Not every person near a truck is on a delivery. And maybe not every moment is an invitation for confrontation. Cheers to your Pepsi-fueled patience. And our last story. Karen claimed my parking spot. Big mistake. I've lived in a busy apartment complex for the last 4 years where parking is a nightmare. Fortunately, my building has a private garage, and I'm lucky enough to own one of the better spots. Easy to park in, close to the entrance, and a definite convenience. Last year, I accepted a job abroad and decided to be considerate. Before leaving, I parked my car at my parents' house and put up a note in the building elevator. Hi, neighbors. I'm the owner of parking spot blank. I'll be away for at least 6 months. Feel free to use my parking space while I'm gone. What I didn't expect was that my kind gesture would turn into a huge headache. Almost a year later, I returned and, as expected, found my parking spot occupied. No problem, I'd given permission. I put up another note in the elevator letting everyone know I was back and would need my space again. I gave it 2 days before picking up my car from my parents. When I got back to the garage, someone was still parked in my spot, a shiny red sedan. Figuring they just needed a little more time, I parked on the street and waited another day. To my surprise, the red car was still there. After asking around, I found out it belonged to a woman 2 floors above me. I went up to her apartment to have a polite chat. She opened the door and immediately looked annoyed. Yes, what do you want? Hi, I think you're using my parking spot. I'm back now and need to start using it again. Her expression hardened. Well, I've been using it for months because my spot's impossible to park in. It's too tight. I blinked. I understand it's inconvenient, but that's still my space. I gave permission while I was away, but I'm back now. She folded her arms. You were gone longer than you said. How was I supposed to know when you'd be back? It's not fair for you to just come back and demand it. That's not how this works. I own the spot. It comes with my apartment. Well, I can't give it back, she snapped. My space is being used for storage now, so I have nowhere else to park. I stood there stunned. She shut the door in my face before I could respond. I went to the building administrator to report the issue. He said he'd talk to her, but the next day he returned shaking his head. She refuses to move her car, says it's your problem, not hers, he explained apologetically. I sent her a registered letter giving her 48 hours to vacate my spot. The next morning, I found the unopened letter tossed in the garbage near the mailboxes. Frustrated, I decided to wait for her to leave the spot. The moment she did, I parked my car there. I hoped this would send a clear message, but she wasn't getting it. Each time she'd park her car somewhere else temporarily, then sneak back into my spot when I wasn't around. The breaking point came when I returned to my car one evening to find the entire driver's side keyed. That was the final straw. I called a friend who owns a towing company and explained the situation. We picked a Saturday morning based on my stakeouts. I knew she rarely left the house on weekends and towed her car right out of my spot. As expected, she noticed quickly. The next time I saw her, she stormed up to me in the hallway. "You stole my car," she shouted. "No, I didn't," I replied calmly. "You were parked in my spot illegally. I had it towed." "You had no right." "I absolutely did," I said, showing her a copy of my property deed that included the parking space. "It's my spot. You've had months to sort this out." "You'll regret this," she growled. "I'll sue you." "Go ahead," I said, unfazed. "The law's on my side." She never did sue, likely because she knew she had no case. Meanwhile, towing her car sent a clear message to the rest of the building. I haven't had a single issue with parking since. As for her, she avoided me entirely after that incident. Though I occasionally caught her glaring at me in the hallway, I just smiled and went on with my day, enjoying the peace of finally having my space back. The neighbor had the nerve to not only refuse to leave the spot, but also steal your car, which showed they had no respect for property lines or ownership. It may have been difficult for her to store things in her own parking spot, but it was never your job to fix the problem. A real Karen move. You were very patient by sending polite reminders, talking to the building manager, and even writing an official letter. But towing her car was the strong thing that had to be done to end the situation. It's too bad that such drastic steps had to be taken, but sometimes the only way to deal with people who keep claiming privilege is to enforce your rights. It looks like Karen finally learned a good lesson about property lines, and you finally have your peace of mind and the parking space that's rightfully yours back. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.